I remember the guys in where were we? Japan or Hong Kong? I think Japan in Tokyo. And there's these people literally driving on the like past with us all the way from the hotel to the training facility, which is about 30 to 45 minutes away. And every time we had a stop, they would get out of the car with their jersey holding the jersey high and being like, "Hey, sign, Messi, 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 Suarez, Suarez, Suarez," just like that, and like they would just walk around different sides of the bus trying to find them, and I'm just like, what do you think they were gonna do? We're at a red light. Do you really think he's gonna go in the back of the bus to sign the jersey for you? Like, it's kind of just a ridiculous situation to think about in a sense to really ask for an autograph. Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. We are back for episode 10. I am Julian Gressel. You might know me from that pink soccer team down in Miami. And my co-host, as always, is YouTube legend Zealand Shannon. Zealand, what's up, man? How was your weekend?
Oh, it was fantastic. I spent my entire weekend looking forward to you introing the podcast. That was actually how I spent my entire that, and I moved into a new apartment in New York, which is actually hell on earth, but we've come out the other side. And my reward was your intro, which was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. I have been thinking about this all day, and now I finally got to do it, and hopefully many more to come. Maybe I'll take your job one day as a.
Well, wait, yeah, wow, hey, hold on. It's pretty good for a backup QB. You ever seen that meme? No, yeah, the last job that I can hang on to, that in my football manager tutorials. Yeah. Oh, but Julian, as fun as my weekend was moving, Julian had an even bigger weekend playing against Montreal. Of course, we're going to recap Inter Miami's dramatic game, which included Lionel Messi getting mad, Luis Suarez getting mad, and Julian Gressel looking great and composed, as always, of course. Belated Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there as well. Just thanks for being moms. Hi, Mom. Love you. I know you're listening. I just want to get that out there.
Obviously, happy Mother's Day to my mom as well, and to my beautiful wife, who's a great mom to our two daughters here. So, I get to celebrate two women in my life, I guess, for Mother's Day. What'd you do for your mom? Did you do anything special?
Oh, we did. We took her to dinner. She got a massage. She's not really like a spa day person, but we hooked her up for like an hour-long massage. And then we booked a nice lunch and a nice dinner. Surprised her with a couple of cards. And this was super, super nice of my dad. My family's not normally these types of people, but because we were moving in New York and they were helping us on Mother's Day, my dad got her one night at the Plaza Hotel. Wow. For Mother's Day, which was very, very nice. I visited the room and they have 24/7 room service, and I got an ice cream sundae, and it was awesome.
I love that. Special. That's special. Special.
It was. Awesome. Do you guys do anything fun for Mother's Day?
Oh, shoot. My wife wanted to. I gave her the day. I gave her options. She wanted to go work out in the morning. She wanted to go work out while I took care of the kids, and then we went to brunch to a nice sushi restaurant at the beach. It was really cool here in Fort Lauderdale, and just kind of spent the afternoon in the pool. It was really hot, and the girls wanted to swim, so really chill, relaxed day, which I needed after the game Saturday anyway, so it kind of worked out.
A big game, and we've got a couple other things we want to talk about today. Of course, Copa America got a bit spicier. Oh, say can you see, but not anymore. And the Orlando-Miami rivalry is renewed this weekend. We got a lot of questions in from you guys, so we're going to try and get to as many as we possibly can. But now we come to a segment of the podcast that we do every single podcast, which is, so the game this weekend, you guys came from behind. Congratulations on the win in Montreal. This time, it was a rather dramatic comeback because you gave up 2 goals in the first half, go behind 2-0, rabid crowd as well. Tough situation.
Yeah, after the 2-0 went in, I was like, so okay, the first goal goes in, and I'm like, all right, we've been here before.
Jules Anthony Vilsaint with Duke ahead. It's through now for Bryce Duke. Goal!
Just kind of keep playing, and then the second one goes in, and you're like, oof.
Miami look uncomfortable again. Jules Anthony Vilsaint!
This is a deeper hole than we wanted, that we've dug ourselves here. So certainly different situation, but we talked about it before, I think, where we concede goals for different reasons, and we always concede obviously we've conceded now in the last 5 games the first goal, at least in this one, the first two. And, it wasn't for the same reason though. I thought it was a different type of goals that happened where, um, they were just, it was just like, it was odd a little bit in a sense where we struggled simply to play. And it wasn't about the mentality. It wasn't about duels. It wasn't about kind of being switched on or anything like that. It was just that we tactically had some issues, and we changed our formation a bit. And then after that, we changed it back and it all kind of went better. But obviously had some individual quality to come back in the first half as well. And then we played well in the second half, I thought, to then win the game and ultimately get out of there with 3 points.
You sent me, I'll be honest, I wasn't able to watch this game, right? I did, of course, see the free kick that we're going to talk about. That popped up all over my social
Yeah.
feeds. But the first thing I saw from this game was after the game. You texted myself, our producer, Michael, this video of people just like slashing these white protective screens that have been put over chain link fences in the parking lot. I'm assuming some at the hotel, maybe when you're leaving the stadium, and just droves of people trying to peer through these like ripped holes next to the fence. How crazy was the atmosphere in Montreal compared to the last couple of games where you guys have been packing NFL stadiums?
It was crazier outside of the stadium than inside. Inside the stadium was a good atmosphere. It was about the game. I mean, it's a small stadium in Montreal, which I kind of like the stadium actually. So it wasn't as tense or as crazy as the other football stadiums that we've played in. But outside the stadium was different, and there were tons of people the game day in front of the hotel. As we were leaving the hotel, there were tons of people running after the bus because we had to drive through the city. So like we had a lot of like red lights and had to stop. So like it's kind of scary when you see people just like running after the bus, and then some of them like bang on the bus as well. So it's just it's not the greatest feeling, and sometimes, but yeah. And then in the stadium for the game, it was fine. And then after the game, that's when I sent you the video of people climbing up on the trees and slashing the fence and just trying to get a glimpse of us as we kind of leave the stadium. And it's funny because I watched that Wembley documentary about the Euro final on Netflix just during this trip. I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that one?
No, I've heard about it. Like I know what
Yeah.
it's about. I remember when it initially came out. There were some English people. For those that don't remember, this was the Euros final,
Yeah.
England versus Italy, and Wembley basically just got broken into by a bunch of rabid English fans. But I personally thought it was crazy that all of that stuff was going on. I thought it was dangerous, right? I don't know if in England maybe they're thinking about it differently. But are you saying the Montreal situation was kind of like that?
No, it wasn't like that. But when they started shaking the fence and when they started cutting down that thing, I was like, oh my gosh, like if they feel like that fence can kind of fall down and they climb over it by climbing over the trees, they're gonna come in here. Obviously, I thought nobody was really coming to kind of see me and really get after me in that situation. But certainly since I was watching it on that trip and literally like the day before, I kind of just thought of that moment, but it was, yeah, people were hyped to see Messi, Suarez, Busquets, and um, all of us, I guess. And yeah, it was a little bit wild for sure.
Then what's happening with the team when those sorts of scenes are going on? Is Yassine out there like leading the line, ready to take on all comers, Messi's bodyguard, or is everybody just kind of relaxed, assuming that it's going to be taken care of and everything's fine?
Everybody's usually relaxed and kind of just like looking at it like I did, like taking videos and kind of just like, man, this is nuts, this is crazy. But yeah, there's a ton of police usually around as well, not just Yassine. If it was just Yassine, it'd be a different story. But um, it was definitely more security than any other, or obviously any other regular MLS game from other teams that I'm used to. But we always have police escorts, and we always have a lot of security and police officers traveling with us. And in that instance, outside of the bus and in the parking lot, there was a ton of police to kind of be ready in case something were to happen. But nothing did happen, and ultimately, those guys got on the bus, and we peacefully and quietly left the stadium and went to the airport and flew home.
I like the idea of Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi just kind of standing there trying to take videos of all this stuff to send to their friends, or any of the guys that are like the new blood at Inter Miami. Are they taking the videos?
No, I haven't seen them take a video. Honestly, they sometimes they engage with those kind of fans and they laugh. I don't know when somebody does something really crazy or whatever, but um, or yeah, sometimes somebody makes a joke about how they're here to see somebody else and not Leo. It's just kind of funny, but yeah, it's just my mom, for example, she used to say, "Are they saying Messi or are they saying Gressy?" So
I like that.
I don't know. Or now we have Cello Wagand on the team. And they're like he's like always joking and saying Chelly, Chelly, Chelly to see him or Messi, obviously, just being funny and kind of laugh about it, which is nice.
What is I've got to I got to chase this thread all the way to the end. Then you said there are some instances where people do something so crazy that even like Messi and Suarez are kind of laughing at how crazy it is. What's an example of something that was that crazy?
Well, there's just like I remember the guys in where were we? Japan or Hong Kong? I think Japan in Tokyo. And there's these people literally driving on the like past with us all the way from the hotel to the training facility, which is about 30 to 45 minutes away. And every time we had a stop, they would get out of the car with their jersey holding the jersey high and being like, "Hey, sign, Messi, 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 Suarez, Suarez, Suarez," just like that, and like they would just walk around different sides of the bus trying to find them. And I'm just like, what do you think they were gonna do? We're at a red light. Do you really think he's gonna go in the back of the bus to sign the jersey for you? Like, it's kind of just a ridiculous situation to think about in a sense to really ask for an autograph. But so in that sense, those are just funny. The ones that when they run after the bus and they drive after the bus and like take videos out of the cars, the moving cars and everything like that. It's certainly funny.
And then the game itself will refocus because it was not funny for Messi and Suarez, particularly after those two goals, where Montreal's up 2-0. It's right before the half, and then Lionel Messi goes down, right, and then he takes. If you didn't listen to the previous episode of this podcast, where we kind of went over these rules, he takes more than 15 seconds basically to get up. And we discussed this. I kind of thought it was a good idea. This was the rule that you kind of had the most concern about because there's the types of knocks that can take more than 15 seconds to get over, but then afterwards you are completely fine. But if you take more than 15 seconds, you have to stay off the field for 2 minutes. Then, of
Yeah, it's
course,
just I don't think it's about 15 seconds. I think it's more about if you need treatment from the outside. So if the trainers come in to help you, then you have to leave the field for 2 minutes. Yeah, but the 15
okay.
seconds, if I tell the
I
ref,
think
being
it's
like, "Hey, yeah, just give me a second here," and like I'm getting up and I'm kind of hobbling away, then he would allow me to be longer than 15 seconds, I think. But it was about the treatment, so people had to come on to help them. Yeah.
right. Okay, so at least the way the rule is written, right, is 15 seconds, and then the ref has
Right.
to invite those guys on. It's good to know that the refs are exercising some sort of like leeway, and that's probably the right way
Yeah.
to apply the rule. But for what Matt, they invite the trainers to come on and help Messi, and so he comes off and he has to stand on the sideline for 2 minutes. Now, obviously, this is a podcast, right? So we can't show you this. But he then, while he's over there, he looks at the camera and says essentially in Spanish, "This rule's not good for the game." And he looks upset, which is unusual because we're talking about somebody who outside of that World Cup run with Argentina, where he famously broke character, this is somebody that never really shows his emotions. I mean, we talked last week about his 6 goal contributions or whatever, and he just kind of goes, "Yeah, that's just what I do."
Yeah.
But he was legitimately upset about this. To me, the funniest part of the whole thing is he's upset because he doesn't get to take a free kick. And then the guy that steps up in his place scores a worldie. Matias Rojas scores a beautiful free kick, which sparks the comeback.
Rojas, of course, scored 2 on his home debut. The effort towards goal is absolutely sublime.
But outside of how funny it is that Rojas ended up scoring maybe the goal of his life there, do you agree with Messi? Is this something that's a problem?
Yeah, and I think that's what we talked about during that episode as well, where I think there needs to be. I mean, it was to begin with, it was a clear foul where everybody kind of thought there should have been given a yellow card, and he definitely needed treatment. It was a knee to knee type situation where the guy came in late, Leo plays the ball, and the guy comes in late and kind of hits him late. And it's an unfortunate situation for Leo because I think he just, kind of gets hit in a spot that just really hurts when you get hit, and you just need some time. And I think they applied some spray and some other stuff and did obviously some testing to the knee just in case nothing is more injured than that. And then it almost feels like you get punished because you kind of actually got hurt, and that's why when we talked about it, we were like, there needs to be some sort of discrepancy, in my opinion, about, okay, yeah, is the guy actually injured and he actually needs treatment, or was it a foul that wasn't a foul where he's just kind of faking it and wasting time? And we're down 2-0. So why would he be wasting time in that moment? And why would he be taking his time to get back up and to kind of not be on the field? And that's something where, the rule is a bit, black and white, in my opinion. But again, that's the rule. That's how it is. And ultimately it worked out for us because Matias steps up and, shoots. I thought it was a bit too far to shoot, honestly, without Leo on the field. But he steps up and he bangs a, top corner, unreal. And I think he was even surprised. If you see his reaction after, right as it went in, he was like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
I love those celebrations.
Let's go, keep going.
He was stunned he scored that. I mean, in the best way, but he was stunned he scored that.
I'm pretty sure all of us were a little bit.
So Matias is not doing that in training all the time, I tell you.
We're not really even training free kicks, honestly, because who's going to take them. There's a clear pecking order that it's not like you can say, hey, I've taken 10 good ones in training, it's my turn now. I think we all know who's taking penalties and free kicks when it comes down to it. And so, I've never obviously scored a banger last week too, or a shot from outside the box as well. So we know he has that in his locker, but not like that.
That is different. That's different gravy. That was Messi-esque, and everybody hopes that they can be Messi-esque for a moment in their career. Also, it's worth mentioning that the way that rule is applied, and kind of the reason you brought this up, is if a yellow card had been given on the challenge for Messi, he would not have had to stay off the field for 2 minutes. So I think maybe what it all boils down to is the ref just messed up in not giving this dude a yellow card in the first place. That would have absolved us of this issue. But yes, also, if you're losing, this rule just shouldn't apply to you. I think that's also fair.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you're losing and if you want to waste time, go ahead. What are you doing? But I certainly thought it was a yellow card worthy foul. The ref decided not to give it, and Leo was actually hurt. He wasn't trying to, do anything else other than actually seek treatment and seek some help to make him feel better. And then, there's one thing of coming off the field, which is okay because that's been the rule forever and whatever. But for then, after we scored the goal, we've had to play with a man down for 2 minutes. So that's the part where I think the issue lies, right? Of him having to stay off for the duration of 2 minutes, because 2 minutes is long. If you're man down and the other team keeps the ball well, that's a long time. So it's certainly something we'll kind of see of how it transpires into the future. And then obviously we had another incident happen as well later in the game. So.
Yeah. Well, and of course we're going to get to that because that's probably my favorite incident. And I think there's another trick when you have to have a guy off the field for 2 minutes, though. Speaking managerially, it's got to be hard to get in that quick change to say, okay, when it's Messi, it actually might be easier because he plays that kind of floating, I'm going wherever I want playmaker role. But let's say you have a center back that has to leave for 2 minutes. You have to make a pretty serious tactical adjustment to be able to account for that guy not being there for 2 minutes. And it can be hard to get that, because the referee's idea here with this change is to get play restarted as quickly as possible. It can be hard to get that change across. How did you guys handle not having a player for 2 minutes? I guess scoring the goal helped, but did you all Tata Martino just passes something along and says, this is how we want to play?
Yeah, it either comes from the outside really quick where he just does a hand signal of, hey, 4-4-2 or 4-4-1 or whatever, or 4-5 in that instance. And or it comes from within the field. We look at guys like Busquets or Suarez even that then just kind of make decisions on the fly and say, hey, let's just be like this for a minute and a half and or 2 minutes and not concede, and then we worry about what's to come afterwards and we go back to our shape. But it depends. Like you said, we had the goal to kind of talk about it for a second, and realize what the situation is, because there's moments in games that are, in my opinion, or I think this is actually scientifically proven, it's the start of the game, the end of the half, the start of the half, and end of in the end of the game, and then the 5 minutes after a goal is scored, that are usually quite frantic and usually quite like not structured or anything like that, where a lot of stuff can happen. If you watch a lot of games, usually within the first 5 minutes, there's usually a really big chance for either of the teams, for example. So those are heightened situations. Those are moments that we're aware of. And after scoring our goal, we obviously wanted to push and we wanted to keep going, and then 2-1 trying to get the momentum. So it was a time for us to then but realize that we were man down for 2 minutes and that we kind of had to adjust a little bit on that side of it. But I think if you're generally aware of those things and you're tactically clued in of what is actually happening, then you can make those decisions pretty quickly, and you just look towards your leaders and towards your obviously bench to see what kind of the instructions and communication is.
And you guys didn't just survive; you actually thrived, because after being down a man for 2 minutes, there was a particularly spectacularly delivered corner from one Julian Gressel. That basically just, I mean, I'm not. This isn't just flattery here. It was an excellent corner, because it was hard for Suarez not to score it on the back post after it had kind of glanced off of a defender.
Shooting corner across goal. There's number 2.
It all of a sudden was 2-2 going into the half. That was a spectacular response.
Yeah, it was great way to kind of take care or to score a couple goals off of set pieces and to change the game really, really quickly. And yeah, the corner, it was a set piece to the front post that gets flicked on and he scores it on the back post. So I don't think I can take a lot of credit for that. But ultimately, we take it and we make our runs to the right spots in the box, and then good things happen. And in that moment it did. And, we were obviously those 2-1 is an incredible free kick. And this is just a typical Suarez kind of striker goal where he feels it and where to go. And the ball gets there and he's there to poach it in. And then it's 2-2. And all of a sudden they're like, oh man, really? 2-2? And we're like, all right, here we go. We got a whole half to go. So certainly big for the game in that sense, and certainly nice to be able to score without also relying on Leo at times, where obviously we've always, scored a lot of goals through him, and we will continue to do so, and all those things. But to kind of know that we can do it without him in moments as well is good. Is good for our confidence, and it's good for kind of the belief within the group that we really are a first place team, without, or obviously with him in the team, with Leo in the team, but also that we can do those things without him or without relying on him too much.
And the third goal as well, not assisted or scored by Lionel Messi, which it's amazing that you have a player that you have to specifically say that. But Kramashi scored in the 59th minute. Lovely ball over the top to set him free.
Rojas with the ball over the top. It's Benjamin Kramashi. And Benjamin Kramashi has scored.
Of course, he's a player that's been emerging after injuries early in the year. And that was the final goal of the game. You won 3-2, obviously, to stay top of the league. But the thing you were mentioning earlier, and I've mentioned this 4 times. I'm so excited to talk about this because I knew if I'm not a betting man. If I was, right, when we were talking about this one rule, I knew exactly who was going to break it. There was one player that was going to break it. And that rule is when you get subbed off in MLS, you have 10 seconds to get off the field. This is a rule that we kind of, generally, I think everybody agrees with on face value, where it just speeds up the game and you get rid of the whole I'm going to take off my shin pads and my shoes and my shirt and then walk off the field sort of vibe that some people have going on. But Luis Suarez gets subbed off in the 92nd minute for Leo Campana, the fabulous striker in his own right. This just wasting time up 3-2. And Luis Suarez, look, I need to stress how rare this is. 99.7% of the people that got subbed off in MLS Next when they were trialing this last year got off the field within 10 seconds. Right? Because if you don't do that, the guy subbing in has to wait a minute before he can come in. 99.7%. But Luis Suarez he takes too long to get off the field. And for the second time in this game, we have one of the legends of the game getting punished by these new rules in MLS, which I have to imagine is a nightmare for MLS because they're just trying to institute these rules without pissing off like two of the highest profile players in the league. But Luis Suarez was obviously not happy because Luis Suarez is a master of the dark arts of the game. Sometimes he goes a little too Voldemort, right? But he is a master of the dark arts of the game, and he just took too long. What happened? You were already on the bench this time, but what happened with Suarez coming off the field?
He took 16 seconds. I mean, as simple as that, right? 16 seconds is longer than 10 seconds. And I think the ref tried to encourage him a couple of times to kind of jog off as well. And ultimately, he felt like he didn't do it fast enough and then decided to keep Campana off the field, which I actually only saw Campana's reaction because he turned back to the bench and like kicked the water bottle holder or something, and it like splattered everywhere because he was obviously mad of not being able to get on and help the team and play. You know, he wants to come in the game and play, so he had to wait out outside. And yeah, it was a moment that ultimately, you know, it worked out. So we learned from it, and we'll see if it happens again.
I was just say, did Luis Suarez learn from this experience?
I don't know. I think he got a little jokes from some of the coaching staff. I think it was yesterday or today in training. So it ultimately ended up being a little bit of a funny moment. But the instance with Leo was a bit more discussion worthy, I think, amongst us and amongst the team in general. So that was probably the more controversial one. Where Suarez gets subbed out, or anybody that gets subbed out, it's pretty clear. Once the fourth official holds the sign up, you have 10 seconds to get off the field. And 10 seconds, yeah, it's long, but it's not that long, and you can't just walk. And then when the ref tells you a couple times to kind of hurry up a little bit, then okay, you just got to do it and kind of suck it up. And ultimately, that's what happened. But we'll take it, whatever, and we win the game, which is happy, and which we're happy with, and then we move on.
Were Leo or Louis, were either of them still like upset and, you know, slamming their cleats down after the game because of what happened, or did they get over it pretty quickly?
No, they got over it. In general, they got over it quickly. It wasn't about once you got them talking about it, or once you kind of spoke about the incident, then yes, you know, I was upset about, you know, having Leo off the field, those types of things where you kind of just talk about it. You know, those rules are impacting the game, you know, and these guys have obviously seen a lot of things in their careers, and now to be thrown in with these new rules is certainly something that they've never seen. So it's interesting to kind of see their reactions to it. But yeah, just kind of is what it is. It's new. It's new for all of us. I don't know how many instances there have been in MLS, but
I can't imagine. If 99.7%, like if that translates to MLS, it is entirely possible that Luis Suarez is the first person to ever be punished by that rule in MLS. Were you involved in any conversations with Leo or Louis about like what happened?
Not so much with those two. I mean, I asked Leo how his knee was. That's really the extent of kind of how it was after the game.
Well, hell, I guess that's a fair. How is his knee? Is he all right?
I guess it was a little bit sore after the game, and since then I haven't really spoken much to him. But yeah, we'll kind of just see how he is for the game tomorrow. I mean, it is. I can imagine that it is a little bit painful, right? It's probably a bruise type ish where if you get hit, kind of a knee to knee action, and structurally everything's okay, which I think it is. I think they got some imaging done potentially just to make sure, but I'm not even 100% sure on that. So we're going to Orlando. He's coming, and I think I saw him in the injury report as questionable. So that yeah, but doesn't necessarily mean anything, I think. So we'll see um, how it kind of feels, I think, for the game. But yeah, in general, nothing really too many conversations about the instances and about Luis and that type of stuff. Just kind of more like, since we won the game and we've been on this good run, you
Yeah.
have fun moments. You have good moments where you can kind of yeah, just have a little bit of a funny joke or something, or a funny word or whatever you say about it, about the instance, and then that's about it.
Yeah, I suppose winning cures all ills. And you mentioned the game tomorrow. It is a big one, another opportunity to pick up a win against a hated rival in Orlando City, which you previously on this podcast have described as perhaps the most hostile atmosphere that you've played in. Are you now regretting that? As I see on your face, you can laugh. You
Yeah,
laugh about
maybe we'll see tomorrow. I'll let you know
it.
tomorrow. But no, it's a derby. It's the, what is it called? The Sunshine Classico.
Yeah, the El Clásico del Sol, I think, is what
Yeah.
they've gone with. I don't know.
Okay.
It's MLS. All these names are new.
Yeah, whatever you call it, I guess the Florida Derby, whatever. But yeah, we'll go up there. It's a nice stadium. Fans are. I think I was more referring to when I said that was about warming up in front of their away fans, or in front of their fans, which always sucks because they kind of just yell at you this time without being able to be on the field. So we'll see how it is tomorrow when I'm actually on the field, and we'll see how it is in general, because this might be different with kind of what I've experienced in the past few weeks and months, obviously with Leo and all those guys on our team. So it might be a different environment. Who knows? I'm looking forward to it.
No, but I think you'll have a solid traveling contingent, as you always do, the traveling road show of Lionel Messi and the boys. And I actually have a backstory to this. I know you'll have a good traveling contingent because last year, Leo Messi obviously moves to MLS. This is pre Julian Gressel at Inter Miami. I get a phone call from my dad. We love sports in my household, but soccer is new to him. I've been the one kind of teaching him soccer stuff, and I was explaining offside with like the salt and pepper shakers and everything. But he knows he knows Messi, and he pays attention to like World Cups and stuff and MLS. And we grew up in Tampa, so we would drive over to Orlando games. Probably been to like 4 or 5 of them. But he sees that Messi is coming to MLS, and he buys tickets to Inter Miami, Orlando City, like 3 of them, just me, my brother, and my dad. And we buy tickets, flights, everything, and then Messi doesn't play. And so I can be in that. This is almost like a Slumdog Millionaire situation. That is how journalistically I know that Messi has never played in Orlando before. So it is going to
Okay.
be lively because Orlando is a very, very popular soccer hub. Growing up in Tampa and playing soccer growing up, we would always have to go to Orlando to play. So it's going to be, if I had to guess, a pretty similar environment to Montreal, but just also with the vitriol that you were talking about dealing with at the start.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good one, and it is a rivalry at the end of the day. We obviously beat them pretty good at home. So they'll have a little bit of extra motivation, I think, and a little bit of extra fire to kind of rectify that situation. I mean, we've talked about taking revenge a few times over the last few weeks on our side, so I can only imagine how they feel, especially in a derby like that. So um, it was a good game that I had against them at home as well, with 2 assists to Suarez, and kind of got my season started in terms of kind of the stat sheet and everything. So certainly looking forward to continue um, our hot run, in a sense, right, where we've now won quite a few games and we want to stay on top of the table and want to do that as well midweek. And yeah, man, it's gonna be a good one, I feel like.
I keep saying the game is tomorrow. When you're listening to this, the game is going to be the night of the day that this podcast comes out. So it is Wednesday night, but it's the tour day former teams. You've got, not only do you have DC United this weekend, you also have Vancouver after that, and then Atlanta, where it all started after that. How special is that as a former player to go back to basically almost all the places you've been as a player?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned it, because I think when we talked about the podcast show before we started recording here, that's the first time I saw it that way, and I realized it. So it was I'm excited to go back to Vancouver. Obviously, in DC, we played already this year, so that was
Yeah.
good to see a lot of people. But to have them back to back like that is certainly interesting.
Well, is there one team? I'll put you on the spot here. Out of the three, two of them are home. Obviously, maybe I worded that confusingly. So it's not like you're going to see everybody. Like you said, you'd already played at DC. But is there one team perhaps you're looking forward to playing the most? Either maybe a revenge factor or just some guys you're looking forward to seeing.
Well, I haven't been back to Atlanta is like a completely different team, so I don't really know anybody there anymore, to be honest with you. DC has also changed quite a lot, but I still know a few guys, and I've seen them already this year. So I would probably pick Vancouver, just because we go there. It's a really long flight, the longest flight I think in the league that you can have from Miami to Vancouver. If you just picture that on a map, I mean that's insane just for one game. And I know that it's going to be a great atmosphere there, as good as I've seen it there. I enjoyed my time in Vancouver a lot. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing all those people there. They've some great former teammates, some awesome people in that organization. I'm a little Vancouver fan now, honestly, because of my time, what I've had there. And it's a special place in my heart. My daughter was born there, so it's always cool to kind of go back. It's a beautiful city. So that is probably the one that I would pick. Yeah, I'm excited for that one for sure.
Just to give provide some perspective, the distance of that road trip. The flight is 6 hours. I don't know. It could take a little longer, could take a little less time based off of the wind. I didn't really go to school for that. I have no idea how any of that works. I just listened to the pilot. But the flight from London to Istanbul, that's only 4. So we're talking about a really serious distance that you have to cover. I can't imagine that there are many leagues in the world that will have an away day that is that significant in the air.
It's no, it's only Europa League, Champions League, those types of things, right? And where that would happen in Europe. But this is what MLS is all about, right? This week, and this is now 10 days. So we travel tomorrow to drive to Orlando 3 hours. So we drive with the bus to Orlando. I think it would be like a 40-minute flight, 45-minute flight if we were to fly. That's probably that's our shortest away game, right? And then we have then we have a home game in mid or at the end of the week on the weekend, and then next week we have the longest away trip in this league, which is a 6 hour flight, like you're saying, where we go 2 days before, 3 hour time change, obviously different climate, everything's different, and that's what MLS is all about. That's what why this league is so unique, and why there's results that you can't explain at times, and all these types of things happen in MLS that are so different from other leagues, and that's what makes it unique, and that's why I hope all the listeners love it.
Well, yeah, no, it is. MLS is a league that I think a lot of people are learning to love, and hopefully this podcast is part of that. But I didn't think of this. You mentioned you go 2 days early. Is there anything else that clubs do for these mega road trips to try and make it easier on the players?
Well, I think you try and stay in your time zone in a way where you don't try and acclimate too much to the time zone there. So if you kind of try and keep your wake up times the same, your bedtime's the same, which is going to be hard because I think it's a 7:30 kickoff Pacific time, so it's a 10:30 kickoff for us Eastern time. So those types of things are really really difficult to kind of handle, and it's but ultimately you kind of just go there and play the game, without thinking about it too much. I think there's been some studies done actually within our team about in preseason. They took our blood all this time about like stress markers and all these things, and travel like didn't really affect us in that way at all, which was kind of funny to see. How it sometimes is maybe just a little bit more in your head than really actually what strain it is on your body for that 2 or 3 days, and so that's really what we're going to do. I think we're going to travel 2 days before, late in the day, and then get there kind of in the evening, 2 days before the game. So you have dinner late, and then the next morning you kind of just wake up a little later in the day, and kind of just have full afternoon training. Get everything situated to like get your legs moving a bit after that 6 hour flight. That's probably the biggest thing. Enjoy the city a little bit, and then wait for the game.
How's the flight? I always imagine, professional teams traveling, air travel particularly, it is a super cool, bougie experience that I could only dream of. How wrong am I? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, quite wrong.
Okay. That's what I figured.
I mean, so this is the airline's called Sun Country Airlines that the league has partnered with ever since COVID, and I think they would have gone out of business during COVID if MLS and them didn't kind of come to an agreement, where we basically fly in regular planes that have 6 seats across the row, so regular economy type seats where every player kind of gets a row. At least you can kind of lay down or do whatever you want within that row or 2 rows or whatever. But other than that, there's nothing else really special, where you just have snacks, and you do have some of that stuff, but it's mostly brought from the team. Snacks, drinks, that type of stuff. Nothing really bougie about anything. So it's just a regular flight. It's really just, the nice thing is really just about parking right by the plane, getting on the plane, landing, getting on the bus, and getting out without having to go through the airport, without having layovers, all those types of things, right? And that's something that is the nice part about it.
So you can bring full bottles of water straight through security, straight onto the plane.
Yes, you can.
That's bougie for me. I don't know. My bar is incredibly low. But you know what time it is, Julian? Do you know what time it is?
It's what's the jingle time for you? You always sing at this time, don't you?
Appreciate you warning the listeners. It's time to go around the world, baby. That's right. It's the Around the World segment, where we are going to talk about something remarkably not around the world today. But the biggest news that we've got affecting perhaps the world of MLS and the U.S. national team and everything else is that the guy I always thought was going to be the coach of the U.S. national team has all of a sudden become the coach of Canada. Jesse Marsch, if you're not familiar, an American coach who's coached Erling Haaland, just in case you've ever heard of him before, and was the coach of Leeds in the Premier League for a time, has signed on to become, I believe his official title is the MLS Canadian men's national team head coach. We'll get into why that is in a second. But what was your initial reaction to hearing this? Because Copa America is this summer, and Canada and the United States are involved in it. So Jesse Marsch is coaching against his own country here.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it's a good step for him if he really wants to make a mark in international football, right? And kind of not evolve, but almost kind of take a stepping stone. If he eventually is maybe eyeing the U.S. national team job, then I think it's a good way for him to kind of prove that he can do it as an international coach with a team, in Canada, in the same region where you play the U.S., you play in CONCACAF, you obviously the same language, players are a lot in MLS, and so I feel like it's a good step for him. I'm kind of excited to see the rivalry, because there was a little bit of beef between Berhalter and Jesse Marsch. So kind of see how that's going. And obviously he's playing against my teammate here, Leo, as the first game in Copa America. So that'll be interesting for me to see as well.
Canada obviously going to be the underdog, but they're going to have, I'm assuming, at least a significant contingent of Canadian support in that first game. I don't know. I hear what you're saying, that he gets international experience and then becomes the coach of the U.S. I think it would be a little awkward, or at least uncomfortable, to go from one nation in the same region to another, particularly one as small and kind of incestuous as CONCACAF, where there's only a few big teams, right? And they're always playing each other like 40 times. I realize they're not going to have to go through World Cup qualifying, but I would be a little uncomfortable if he went straight from Canada to the U.S. And that almost makes me sad, because I think he's a good coach, but now he's sided with Canada.
I mean, who knows if that's what he wants to do, right? And ultimately, if that, maybe he's also itching to get back, and he's been out of the game a little bit. Obviously, now the season's coming to an end for a lot of these teams in Europe, and this might have just been a really good opportunity for him to kind of step in and coach somewhere in the summer, and hopefully kind of get back on the wagon almost, of trying to jump in again, and take something that is a tough job, I think, because the Canadian Federation isn't really, in a great spot, I want to say.
Oh yeah, they went
Um,
bankrupt not that long ago. I
yeah.
don't even know how a federation manages to go bankrupt, but they did it.
But at the same time, you have some exciting tournaments, with the Copa America in the US, where I'm sure he's excited, really excited about that. And I definitely know how he can get his team fired up for that. So that's obviously something that I'm sure he's looking forward to a lot. And then if it were to work out and if it he would enjoy it, then I don't know how long his contract is, but obviously you have the World Cup, right? And that's also in this region in a few years. So certainly a lot of exciting projects and tournaments kind of coming up for him where he could spend a lot of time in the US, probably with his family, where his family wants to be, maybe, and while also scouting players and stuff. And um, then, yeah, kind of just seeing how it goes again as a coach.
I like maybe that's the acceptable American answer. Is he scouting players that perhaps are dual nationals that he can then flip to the United States? That's how that's gonna work. But I tease something. I just have to cover this because I think it's so odd. I don't even know what my opinion is on it.
Oh, so
But he
odd.
is the MLS thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking?
yeah,
Yeah. I don't even know. So MLS owners of Canadian teams are funding part or all of Jesse Marsh's salary to be the coach of the Canadian national team, which is why I don't know why they've decided as part of this funding to name his position the MLS men's national team head coach of Canada. That sounds like they're trying to name a building after them at a university after donating a bunch of money. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But what strikes me as weird about this is on a couple layers, because there's also a Canadian Premier League. See, I get that there are a couple
yeah.
of MLS clubs in Canada, but MLS is ostensibly a US first league. So I feel like someone in the league office at MLS is like, oh no, what like monster have we created? We're like accidentally making the Canadians better as well. And you
Honestly,
played in Canada, so I feel like you've got maybe even a more informed take on this than most.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just weird.
It's just strange. I don't even know how something like that would work. I guess all that is telling me that the Canadian Federation is not doing well.
Yeah, that's
Right? That they can't even afford a head coach, and now they're kind of seeking help from these, billionaires, multimillionaires from the MLS teams in Canada that obviously have the most money and want I guess Canadian soccer to do well, right? Like that's their thing. They want it to do well, and they want their markets to grow. They want to sell more things. They want to have games in those stadiums and sell out games in those stadiums, all those things. So I'm sure there's some kind of backdoor deals about those types of things where, maybe there's an extra player that will get called up or these types of things.
Oh, I'm so happy
No,
you mentioned that.
but
I'm so
it
happy you mentioned that. Please tell me, confirm every person's suspicion that there are quotas on the national team and that a certain number of MLS players have to get called up.
well,
Please.
if the head coach is called MLS Canada men's national team head coach, then it's in the name, right? So if there is if Greg Berhalter was called MLS something US soccer head coach, like, oh my gosh, that
Oh.
would cause a whole lot of different things. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it just tells me that the Canadian Federation needs to look at their finances and needs to kind of figure out what way it is for them to move forward. And
They
yeah.
they shouldn't have signed a coach. They should have signed an accountant. That would have been where I would have started. How did they made the World Cup for the first time in 22 years? I think it is, and then they just went bankrupt right after that. It is impressive. They were also the only in that. I don't know why this bothers me. They were the only team to go to the World Cup that did not have a specialty kit made for the World Cup. They just rocked up with the same thing they were wearing in CONCACAF qualifying. Like, come on, you got give me a giant maple leaf with like the numbers and letter. You got so many a moose, anything. Give me something. Maybe just show up in the like mounted police, like was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police or whatever those uniforms. That'd be pretty sick. I'd love to see Alphonso Davies in one of those.
I mean,
But they are playing against Argentina at the start of Copa America. That's another team that you have particular vested interest in, perhaps. outside of the U.S. national team, obviously, is Argentina like your second team now?
I don't know. I'm watching more of the. I feel like I'm watching more of the Euros, honestly.
Oh, there you go. Well, they are in Germany. That's
Yes,
fair.
I'm still a dual national, right? I'm still a German American, so Germany's still in my heart, and I'm still rooting for them, and that's going to be a fun tournament in Germany. So I'm looking forward to
So
that a lot.
it's right. So it's Germany and the U.S. national team. That's the
Yeah,
top tier, right? Your second tier of national teams. Uruguay, perhaps with Louis. Argentina with Lionel Messi.
I just don't want them to get hurt. That's really all.
That's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
great
it'd be
answer.
nice to kind of go to a game, right, and enjoy the atmosphere here in Miami. I think the finals in Miami, if I'm
Really, that's
not
awesome.
mistaken, of the Copa America. So that would be really, really cool to go to. With Leo playing in it, right? Like he gets a suite for the whole team, kind of invites us, and we get a special, exciting kind of weekend or a game like that, and that would I think that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I'm more so looking forward to the fact that it's in the U.S. and I have a few friends that are playing in it. That I can see and I can watch and I can kind of follow along, which there doesn't always have to be a rooting interest, I guess, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
That's fair enough. You just enjoy the suite and hope everybody has fun. What
Yes,
what do you what are
but Leo
your
can also win. It'd be okay for me.
yeah?
I'll be happy for him.
As
Yeah,
long as he's healthy, as
that's right.
long as he ends the tournament healthy, that's important. I loved that answer. What was the expectation? I just want to slip this in quickly before we move on. But what's your expectation for the U.S. men's national team? Mine is the semifinal. I think. Well, they're the pot one team in their group. Okay, so basically it's U.S. v. Colombia. As long as the U.S. wins their group, I think the U.S. can get to a semifinal. Where are you at with what the U.S. should be capable of?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think the standards just keep getting higher and higher, right? And obviously, you got to make it out of the group. You always have to look at it step by step in a way, right? Where if you don't have a good first game, then you're already in trouble, and you see that in World Cups where big nations, um, you know, kind of just come to a premature end in a sense, right, in the tournament. So you really got to just look at it.
Germany, sorry.
Yes, that's right. That's what I was leading. Yes, getting towards or had in mind. But so you got to look at it step by step, in my opinion. But ultimately, I think the U.S. wants to get ready. We want to get ready for a World Cup at home. So this is a perfect dry run in a sense, right? Where you are playing in your country. You obviously get invited to the tournament. It's a different type of feel to it where. You play against maybe teams that you don't face as much. But looking at the group, Bolivia, Panama, and Uruguay, I think you got to come out of it, obviously, and then it's the knockouts, and you hope that that's something where the group learned a lot from at the last World Cup, where you obviously played some really good games at a high level, and then you can really kind of draw from those experiences, I think, as a program and as a federation. So then when you get back to, I don't know if you play Brazil, for example, or Colombia, Paraguay, those types of teams, then when it comes to those knockout games that you're ready and you kind of can take the next step to then go advance, right? And I think semifinal is probably a good shout from your end there.
Good. Yeah, I would say the way I answer that, because I try and be as diplomatic as possible. That's what I'm known for, right? Is I would be upset or at least frustrated if we didn't get to a semifinal. It would be one of those tournaments where I go, we could have done better.
It's always
So
hard for me to look at it that way, though, because every game is so different, right? You can get a really bad call from a ref in a quarterfinal, and then you down a man after 10 minutes. Are you still going to say that because of how the games transpire that you're upset that you didn't go to semifinal?
it's a very players answer you're giving here, but I'll tell you this.
But it's the
Barring
truth,
any,
right?
yeah, no, you're
A
right.
football manager. I'm sorry.
No, I know. I'm just frustrated how that you're right. But I'll reframe it. Like if U.S. finishes second, Brazil's the likely opponent. They're in the other group that's like opposite
Yeah.
the U.S. So they win their group. The U.S. finishes second. It's U.S. Brazil in the quarterfinal. The U.S. goes to extra time with Brazil in a major tournament. I don't care if we lose. That
Yeah.
is Like
See?
maybe the coolest thing I've ever seen my nation do outside of, let's see, Donovan, John Brooks, and Clint Dempsey 27 seconds in, which was the first match I'm pretty sure my dad ever watched, by the way. So he was a little confused as to how we
That's
scored
awesome.
so quickly. That's what got him into the World Cup, at
That's
least,
cool.
which is always very neat. But I am excited for it. It actually starts in 35 days, and we are, of course, going to be talking a lot more about Copa America as we go on. But it's time to get to your questions. We actually have 4 fan questions that we pulled out for today, and they are all matters of national security and importance. The first one is from Claire Caneo. This one's actually not too funny. Did Messi say anything to you guys after the game about the new rule? I could see him on the sidelines mad. And of course, we already talked about this. He said he didn't like the rule. The free kick did end up going in, but was Messi happy with the end result?
I mean, he was happy that we scored, yes, but I don't think he was too happy having to wait after that for 2 minutes. And I think that's what we talked about is him having to wait for 2 minutes of 2 minutes of play, not just like 2 minutes of kind of, dead time between the goals. So that's kind of what I think he was a little bit upset about. He didn't really say anything specifically. We just kind of, you could kind of see how he was upset at that, and I could kind of hear them talk about it a little bit in Spanish, where I'm still struggling to kind of chime in with my Spanish, but I can understand kind of what they're talking about. So I certainly heard them talk about it, but nothing really I specifically picked up on it. But he wasn't too happy, just because, and you saw that on the video clip as well, and you saw that on the kind of the little quote he gave as well.
I think it's one of those things that if it happens to him a few more times, it could boil over into like a larger situation. But definitely something to keep an eye on, because anytime Lionel Messi disagrees with the rules, it's almost maybe a better idea to change the rules.
Yeah.
We already talked about how he could change those. The second question
Is
from
I'm setting that second question because it's for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Take it. See, I did the intro. Can I do a question? Like, come on. Let me do one.
I can't believe that I was trying to monopolize the questions like that. I need to be more introspective, Julian. Please take it away.
So this one's from Patrick Fleming, and it comes from Instagram. It is for Zealand. How would you stop Suarez and Messi?
I think this is a weird place to start this, but I promise you I'm going somewhere. There is a very important quote from a sitcom called Arrested Development. And in that show, they are, I can't even remember what they're doing. There's this character that's about to fall for something stupid. And he goes, it's crazy. Like all these people delude themselves into thinking it'll work for them, but it might work for us. That's what he says, right? It's like everybody, it roughly approaches this the same way. They go, well, Lionel Messi is so great, so we're just going to have a guy follow him around the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. And in all the, like everybody tries to take this approach and go, well, we're going to be able to handle these unbelievable players that the best players in the world can't handle. So I think if I am setting up a team for how to stop Suarez and Messi, I think Suarez has an obvious Achilles heel. I've always loved his game. I love players that take 16 seconds to get off the field. If that wasn't incredibly obvious, I love guys like that. I want to have them. If I'm coaching a team, I want to have guys like that on my team. Right. Maybe not the biting part, but everything else, we can work with that. He has an obvious Achilles heel. The guy is slow. It's not his fault. He's 37, right? And so you have to play the Ange Postecoglou line at midfield, right? Because you need to give your team time to recover when he inevitably beats you, because he's going to, right? Because he's better than you. Like there's a reason he's Luis Suarez and you're not, right? And so if we drop in and just try and crowd him out, he's going to get open. And anytime he touches the ball, it comes off 40 miles an hour right into the bottom corner. So you can't let him get into those positions. Got to play a high line. Now, Lionel Messi, there's no solution, right? The best thing I think you can do is something I do in Football Manager all the time. You have an Mbappe, you have a Messi, you have whatever. These god tier dribblers, these gifted people, the ball's Velcroed to their foot. You can't touch it. Back off. You need to play like zone defense in the NBA, basically. If Lionel Messi is going to score, Make him do it from 25 yards because he's less likely to do it from there than he is just walking the ball into the back of the net.
So just play the odds.
Look, I'm not a guy that's married to the analytics here, but I have watched clip after clip, particularly doing this podcast, of people trying to stay with Lionel Messi. Of you send 2 to 3 guys at him, he just bounces the ball off somebody else and he's free. If you basically, it's what they used to do to Michael Jordan in the NBA. Make him take everybody else away. He has to beat you by himself. Just back off, stop at the edge of the 18. Just kind of just leave him alone and try and take everything else away. That, and if you keep a high line, maybe you have a chance. But then again, these guys, you hear other coaches talk about this. It's like you can go in with a plan, but these guys are special for a reason. There's no way to guarantee you can stop them.
Yeah. Okay, that's your take. I like it. It's actually funny because, when I think about kind of an approach that will somewhat be similar to what you're saying, it's almost like Vanni Sartini, the coach from Vancouver, thinks like that in a way, so zonal and defensively, and everybody's kind of has their zones, and then kind of just defends within that. You don't really follow guys around a lot. You kind of just zone defend. The most important thing is the ball, rather than the players, right? So just worry about where the ball is and worry about where you are in relation to that ball. And so we'll see it. Maybe we'll see it in 10 days coming up when we go play Vancouver. How that approach might be it.
Well, there's like a pressing intensity option in FM. I just turn it all the way down. If Lionel Messi has the ball, get in your stance, kind of slide with him, but do not, under any circumstances, go towards the man because he's going to put you on a poster. I
thought it was more about trying to get him injured and get him off the field. Montreal did, keep him off the field.
Oh yeah, there we go. No, I would never do it. Well, in a video game I would, but not in real. In real life, it's too cynical for me.
Gotcha.
Even when I'm talking about it on stream and it's in the game, I have to be like, look, take out his knees, in the game though, respectfully, it's a video game. I could say that. Okay. The next one's for you, so I get to read it. Chris Van Weingarten says on Instagram, what goes into preparation for a double game week in MLS? What is the rough plan when you have an away game on Wednesday and another away game on Saturday or Sunday?
Maybe the coaches have a plan beforehand, but us as players, we don't really have a plan, right? We just kind of know what's coming, where we kind of just look at the first game. You kind of just go game by game. That after, obviously now we play Wednesday and Saturday, which is 2 days in between, which is a bit tougher than we just did Saturday, Wednesday, which is 3 days. That's usually no problem. It's really the kind of Wednesday, Saturday one where it's 2 days in between, where you kind of got to really focus on recovery. And that, honestly, that starts immediately after the game is over, that first one on Wednesday, where I usually just chug some electrolytes and water, just to rehydrate really quick. I jump into the ice bath, for quite some time after the game. And then it's really about just recovery. There's not a lot about training. It's about watching some video, getting ready for the new team that you then face 2 days later, rather on the video screen or on the TV screen than really on the field. You do some light walkthrough maybe the day before again. But in terms of a plan before the week, you just know what's coming, and that you've experienced it before. You know how the coaching staff wants to do those types of weeks. So there's nothing really too scripted about it, because what we've just talked about, every game is different, right? Some things can happen on Wednesday where you can have all these plans to say, hey, you'll only play 45, you'll only play 60, whatever. But then something happens, and then all of a sudden you have to play 90, and then you have to play 90 on the weekend again, for example, right? So all these things are fluid, they're moving, and they're kind of just, for us players, it's more so just kind of adapting and kind of just being prepared for anything. Obviously being open, right? If you're hurt, if you're tired and you kind of need a break, then you should speak up in a sense, right? Have a team first mentality like that. But nothing too crazy of a plan, to be honest.
Just do lots of yoga.
Yoga, ice bath. ice bath,
Oh,
and
those ice baths always scared me.
yeah.
The final question, which was really what I was talking about, but this is a matter of national security. This one's the most important one. Andy Thomas asked on Twitter. We do have a Twitter, by the way. What's
X.
sorry, we have an X. What's the best sandwich you've ever had?
Do you want to go first? Because I feel like I mean,
Sure.
you're really excited about it, so I feel like you should be able to go.
No, I mean, I love food. I'm going to be honest. That I would have been a professional player if I didn't take an arrow to the knee and eat all the time. No, I do love food, but I don't know if I have an answer to this question. I will try though, because right after I moved to New York for the first time, I'm not from here. I'm from Tampa. I moved and there was a place like right below where I was living, and I wander in there, and I'm like a lost little boy. I'm like, it was. Well, actually, it wasn't that bad for you. I just realized this might resonate with you a little bit because of what's in the sandwich. But I walk down there. It's like a Mediterranean place, and I get a bit of divine inspiration. I order a chicken schnitzel sandwich.
All right.
And it was outstanding. And I think it was because I just moved, and you're like drained and dehydrated. You need nourishment. And I came down to this little oasis of a shop and got a chicken schnitzel sandwich. It had like a little aioli on it, a little tomato, a little lettuce, and just a chicken schnitzel just kind of wrapped inside of a roll. And it hit me like a Mack truck going 75 on a state highway. It was sensational. That was the best sandwich I've ever had.
Okay. That is a lot more specific than I will answer.
That's fair. I got lost in that memory. I'm like drooling right now.
No, it's great. I think it's great. And I mean, for me, I'm just more talking about general sandwiches, the ones I prefer. It's probably, I grew up a lot with tuna paninis.
Whoa.
So like we had this panini machine at home where we would make tuna sandwiches. I'd make it myself. Like my mom would or I'd make it myself sometimes, but my mom would usually make them as well, where she would sometimes make it with tuna, cheese, and sometimes pineapple, which was really weird. But it was tasted so good. And then sometimes just with tuna and cheese, and like almost like a grilled cheese with tuna in it. But and for some reason that resonates with me a lot, because now if I had to go get or if I wanted to go get a sandwich, I think the sandwich I would pick is a tuna salad sandwich.
Wow. So you growing up in Germany, it was tuna sandwiches.
Yeah, I had tuna a lot. I just realized that we had tuna pizza all the time too. You've never heard of that here in the US, huh? It's so common in Germany.
A tuna pizza.
Yeah,
I'm Googling this right now.
Tuna on the pizza and some onion. I always hated the onion, but
tuna pizza, German. I'm looking. Oh yeah. Well, I love the German word for Thunfisch pizza.
Thunfisch, yeah.
Thunfisch. Okay, and it's got like onions on it. I'm looking at.
Yeah, can have. I didn't like those, but yeah.
You just really needed to mainline the tuna, huh?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to be honest. If you have the opportunity to look up tuna fish pizza Germany, it looks like a normal pizza. It's what's hiding underneath. It's so surprising.
If you make your own pizza at home, go try it with some tuna on it and tell me you don't like it.
Is this like the tuna out of the can? Like where are you getting this tuna from?
Yeah, canned tuna, just in water. Just sprinkle it on before you put it in the oven, and then put it in the oven. Maybe put some cheese on top of it. It's really, really good. Try it.
Look, I okay. You know what?
Let us know in the comments.
Please
let us know in the comments.
I'll try anything once. I will. I'll try anything once, and so I won't. I am stunned though. If you had asked me if tuna pizza was a thing, I would have never in a million years.
You've never seen that in New York. We got to open a pizza shop with tuna pizza. That's a first.
The funny thing, I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm gonna see it on a menu, and I'm gonna have to get it because I have to try everything once. But well, I'll let you know. I will let you know, and I hope I come back here and I'm like, I was wrong, Julian. It was amazing. But Andy Thomas has introduced a real curveball into this with his question about favorite sandwich here. Because
to go back to, I also love food. I just tell myself that I can't eat it all right now. I can eat it all in 7-8 years.
Oh, that's perfect. No, my favorite reason, because I did the New York Marathon last year. My favorite reason that I give people for running the marathon is, I just did all the running so I could eat whatever I wanted. That was my favorite reason.
Yeah,
But thank you guys for listening. That is it for this week. Please do follow us on Instagram at the Player Manager Pod, and of course, please rate and review the pod. We got a review from one of you guys right here. A new review from Bedor Dark Fall. I think I'm saying that right. On Apple, said, really enjoying the podcast. Also, Julian, appreciated your story about the DC United corner kick when you laughed at how much unexpected vehement hate you were getting. I was one of the few close by yelling out support. Nice. There is time in the show. If there's time in the show, I'd love to hear about some background from growing up in Germany and what the youth development and soccer fandom was like back home. Thank you both. Thank you, Bedor Darkfall, for the review. If you leave a review, we might just read it on the podcast as well. And Julian, we might just get to your origin story at some point.
I'd love that. I think there's some great points we can talk about for sure.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.